This conference will now be recorded.
All right, we're good to go.
Thanks, Eli. This is Tim Johnston, chair of the group. I apologize, I was not here at last month's meeting, just unavoidably detained. And I'm experiencing plumbing problems today in our house, so I might have to run. I'm waiting for a plumber to call it, so always something. But welcome to everybody here. Hope everything's going well for everyone. Hope all your leaves are on the ground, all off the trees, it looks like. I want to call the meeting to order, and I think everyone here knows who everybody is. I want to identify everybody here. So I think we just move ahead to the approval of minutes. If you look at the minutes from last month, can I get a approval of those minutes, please, from someone?
I read them early. You're getting them out.
And is there a second?
Second.
All right, they've been approved.
And a quick note for folks before we proceed, there can be some audio feedback issues when we don't mute up our microphones. So if you all could please just make sure you're muted unless you need to say something, that would be helpful. Thank you.
Thanks, Eli. Let's move ahead to next thing on our agenda is the Kcpd update. I see we have Officer Jones with us and Officer Keeney.
Hello, guys. I just sent this out to Lance and also Officer Jones. I'm Officer Keeney. Officer Jones was busy doing some calls and some services out and about with the social worker, so he asked me to pull up some stats and information for this group while he was out and about. And I said, most definitely. He's been a busy man this week. So Shoal Creek Patrol Division responded to, this is for the whole division, so you guys can get an idea how busy your divisions are. Shoal Creek Patrol Division responded to 6,867 calls the last month. They responded to 420 priority 1 calls. So that kind of gives you an idea the disparage between a code 1, code 2, or less priority call. Obviously, there's a lot more less priorities. That's probably the reason why some people have to wait for a while on those lower priority calls. Now, we've had really good weather. We've only had a few bad weather days, but we still had 225 vehicular accidents in Shoal Creek Patrol Division this last month. North Patrol Division responded, and Lance, I hope I'm not stepping on you, but I went ahead and did it on both sides. North Patrol Division responded to 6,329 calls last month, and they responded to 336 priority 1 calls. Again, with the vehicular accidents, 178 for North Patrol. So you combine those together and you've got close to over 400 vehicular accidents when we have fairly good weather. And the reason why I bring that up is because of the fact that one of the #1 complaints we get in our neighborhoods is speeding and also crazy driving. We also get those complaints all the time up and down our different North Oak traffic ways and different parkways on both the Shoal Creek and the North Patrol side. There is a link that you can go to and be able to make a traffic complaint, and you can put in that complaint that you would like to be contacted by someone at the traffic unit, so you can get the stats and what they saw or when they worked and how many tickets were written or how many stops. So that's something, if you're interested in, you can get a hold of Officer Jones, myself, or Officer Lance Lentz. As far as reported crimes, I did a pretty big, broad snapshot, probably bigger than what you guys usually have. And I did that from, it goes all the way over almost to Davidson, and all the way up to about Vivian, and all the way over on the North Patrol side up to 169. So I did a bigger and broader snapshot of it. And the reason why I did it, I wanted to kind of give you guys a flavor of what's been going on. So as far as burglaries and residential on reported, there were on both sides, a total for both sides, there were 4. And assaults were, which I put this in here because the assaults are interesting. When I was looking at the stats, there were only 4 that were DV, but 10 were other assaults other than DV. So we're seeing an increase in a lack of problem solving and being able to do conflict resolution within our neighborhoods. And so that's 14 for both sides. On both sides, I counted a total of 4 stolen autos, and then theft from autos were 4. And then, which I found interesting, which was more concentrated over in the Briarcliff area, was there were 7 embezzlement reports and 4 damaged property reports. You can always get on crimereports.com. If you want to know how to do that, you can go to the Kcpd website, and you can be able to put out a geographical area on the map, and you can look at each and different one of those calls for service. If you have any questions on any of those calls for service, what you can do is kind of copy and paste and send an email to one of the CIOs, and we'll get back a hold of you and let you know what we know about those calls for service. I'm going to go ahead and hand the time back over to either Officer Lance Lentz or Officer Jones. How about Officer Jones? Go ahead.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Sorry. Okay, that's better. Yeah. Okay. Basically, the other thing I wanted to add on, and Lance, you'll have, I'm sure you'll have some input on this as well, but we're going to be hosting a holiday safety tips presentation with NNI. It's going to be next Thursday, the 19th, 6 o'clock. It's going to be a virtual meeting, but we're basically going to be talking about the typical holiday safety tips with this year projected to be a record number year for online sales because of COVID and what all have you. We're going to be focusing more on some of the home safety aspect of it. Like we're going to be seeing the packages coming in, but we're also going to be having some packaging that's going to be put out after the holidays. So we're going to be talking about some strategies there as far as how not to make yourself a victim, basically. So that, again, we're going to be, I believe NNI is going to be sending that out this week sometime. That's going to be next Thursday, 6 o'clock. It's going to be a virtual meeting.
At this time, we'd like to go ahead and kick that over to Lance. Lance, do you have anything for the group?
Hey, I don't, guys. You've pretty much covered everything. I appreciate you for doing that thorough of a job, Bill.
Do we have any questions, Eli's, for the CIOs that might have come in on a chat, or any other questions that you want to ask any of us three?
Nothing's come in on the chat so far. I know some folks have joined by phone, so it might be a little chaotic, but if any of you have questions, feel free to unmute on your phone and we can address those as we sort through them.
Well, I have a question. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
That's fine. Go ahead.
Marilyn, why don't you go first?
Oh, okay. Thank you. I saw a panhandler at Briarcliff and North Oak. It was probably last week, and that's the first time I've seen a panhandler at that location. I've not seen anybody since, but I don't know. It was a little concerning because they're usually concentrated up at North Oak and Vivian. So I was just commenting on that, and don't know if anybody else saw anybody down there.
You brought up a good point there as far as the panhandling goes. Our crisis intervention team, which is a group of individuals that work together, they are actually centralized down in the city. They just got done sending out an email to the CIOs to find out where those heavily targeted panhandling areas are. So if you do see a lot more panhandlers in certain areas, feel free to go ahead and email one of your CIOs. The CIOs can go ahead and look into it and see if that's already been listed. Right now, unless we actively see the panhandler out in the street, meaning that they become a hazard to motor vehicular, doesn't mean that you guys see it. We have to actually, a police officer has to actually see it. Now, if you're willing to make a complaint and go and testify in court, we can subpoena you to go ahead and testify in court. So they can't be in the street panhandling, but they can be along those roadways. I know North Patrol's Parks Anti-Crime Team has been working on some of the panhandling in their area. Lance, did you want to speak anything on that?
Yeah, last month, the homeless and panhandling along Berry Road between I-29 and 60 and North Oak was my #1 complaint. I have not seen it or heard of it that far south down by Briarcliff, so that's news. But I echo what Bill said. If you could just make us aware. Like he said, our Parks Anti-Crime Team, it's called PACT, P-A-C-T, here at North Patrol. It's a sergeant and 4 officers. They have a pickup truck. They have ATVs. They are perfectly suited to help us out with homeless issues when we can take some type of enforcement action. The problem is that City Council has really not given us any tools to do that, to take enforcement action. There's just not a lot we can do with homeless folks unless they are, like Bill said, stepping out onto the street and being aggravated to the point to where they're causing a hazard to traffic.
Yeah,
So
I
until
remember that.
City Council wants to take up the issue with some seriousness, there's really not a whole lot we can do.
Okay. And you mentioned the CIOs. I don't have any of that information. Does Ed have that?
I could send that
if I
out.
call in.
Yep. Marilyn, I'll be happy to get that to you.
Okay. So.
And I can send out the crime stats to you, Ed or Eli, that I presented. It has the map that the target is and all those stats. If they're interested, they can get a hold of you guys in regards to that.
Okay.
Okay, so you have my email address through the neighborhood group.
Yes, ma'am, I do.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. I did want to ask, since we have all of you on the call, any update on the Hookah Bar or any of that work there on Cherry and North Oak?
We haven't really. We've been monitoring it. We really haven't had the calls for service out there. I haven't gotten much input from the community recently on it either. So it's one of those things where I'm hoping things have died out down there and people just aren't getting used to the what might be perceived as the ordinary. We are still keeping an eye on things right now on it though, so that's kind of where we're at on it right now.
We do talk about that Hookah Bar every week in our crime analysis meeting that we have where the whole division gets together. We do have proactive units that have been doing stops with individuals that might be leaving that area that might be involved in nefarious activities, such as we do have them running license plates if it looks like they might not belong to the vehicle because there's only one plate. They've made a couple of stops, but for the most part, we did have an incident the past weekend, and we did go out there and we responded, but no one was cooperative. No one wanted to cooperate with us. They did do what's called a report on it. It's a tavern report, intel report. We're putting that all together, and so we are still trying to work it with the city as a nuisance business, but there's a certain criteria that it has to fall under for us to really go that route. So that's what Officer Jones is talking about.
Okay, thanks a lot, Dr. Keeney. I do have a question, without too much detail, Officer Keeney, if you could let us know, let me and Tammy know maybe a little bit more about these embezzlement reports over in Briarcliff. Just, I'm not sure what's going on with that.
A lot of times what I'm seeing is that people are getting involved in some online activity, and then the next thing you know that they are getting scammed, and that falls underneath our embezzlement or fraud unit.
So it's really folks getting scammed on the internet. They're not, but because it falls under your embezzlement list, that's why it's referred to as that, right?
And so if you've been watching any of the next door.
Officer Keeney, you're breaking up quite a bit. We didn't catch that.
Officer Keeney, if you're still talking, we can't hear you at all. I'm going to try and mute up everyone else who is here just to see if we can get that fixed. But Officer Keeney, you may need to drop out and drop back in again if it's continuing to not work.
Are we muted, or did we lose a signal here?
Officer Jones, we can hear you, and I can see Officer Keeney's microphone is toggling over to the, makes it look like he's speaking, but we're not hearing anything from him.
Sounds like you might be muted. They can see you trying to speak, but nothing's coming over. Okay, I'm muting mine again.
Sorry about that. Can you hear me now, guys?
Yeah, we can hear you just fine.
Okay. Did I answer that question for you? Did you hear any of that, Tim?
Well, oh, wait, I just typed out of it. What do I do?
We didn't hear. Yeah, we didn't hear anything, Bill.
Yeah,
yeah,
Tammy
we
and
heard
Tim,
maybe
when I was looking up those embezzlement cases, and I only grabbed a couple, I just snapshotted a couple. And what I found out, which is what's been going on since the pandemic has really kicked off, is that we're getting really hit hard with online scams. And people are actually jumping on those online scams. And then eventually what happens, our fraud unit has to classify those reports. So several of them were classified as an embezzlement. And so they've created a relationship with with the online scam, and then the online scammer embezzled the money out of their accounts.
Got it.
Okay. Thanks, Officer Keeney. Anything
Yeah, no
else?
problem. No problem there, Tim. But one thing I would like for the group to know that, please, if you haven't friended, if you're on the Platte County side, or you're over on the west side of North Oak, if you haven't got on that Nextdoor app, and you don't have it, you haven't downloaded it to your smartphone or on your computer, you ought to do it. And the reason why is because Officer Lance Lynch does a fantastic job over the North Patrol side to give you crime prevention tips and also a lot of information on the crimes that are hitting us pretty hard. On our side, Officer Jones and myself, we've been doing the same thing. So if you get on that Nextdoor app, download it, you can get some good information from us.
Thanks, Officer Keeney. Any other questions for the officers?
I'm curious, inspired by what Marilyn said about a panhandler who hadn't been seen in an area previously. Are you noticing an increase in the homeless population over the past few months? I know the pandemic has seen a lot of folks sort of displaced in that way.
I belong to what's called the Emergency Preparedness and COAD, and I do weekly and monthly reports to them. I'm the one that also started the Northland Homeless Assistance Coalition, which Tammy has come to a lot of our meetings and also our Zoom meetings. And quite frankly, yes, Eli, I'm just going to come straight out and say, yes, we have seen an increase or influx of homelessness across the country. Every COAD across the country, that's a community organization that actually monitor the amount of homeless that they're seeing in their communities. And so we are seeing an increase. And then the demographics that people usually ask is, well, what's causing it? Is it the pandemic? Is it, what is actually going on? Are they losing jobs? What have you? Now, Tammy could probably, through Janelle Porter, tell you a little bit how many families are affected within our schools. And they can give you a lot of the information when it comes down to that, a lot of jobs that were depended upon. You had families that were working 2 or 3 part-time jobs just to be able to make ends meet. Those jobs were basically stopped because of the pandemic. And so you didn't have that income. Now, some did go ahead and get a hold of the CARES Act. NNI, Northland Neighborhoods, Inc., did a great job partnering up with Metro Lutheran Ministries to get additional funding to the Clay County area. The CARES Act was in phase 3, and that CARES Act money was supposed to go to these individuals, these people that are hurting on paying their rent and their basic, staples. Now, the Kansas, Missouri Police Department and also all your school districts and also those providers have been doing a lot of food giveaway events. If you've been on any of the Facebook pages or any of mine or the Nextdoor apps, you would see that we've been giving out. Just to give you guys an idea, on my food giveaway that I was doing sometimes 2 to 3 times a month, I would have over 2,000 boxes of food that I would give away in 2 hours. And I would have literally a half mile to a mile long line. Out of curiosity, being the quiet, shy person I am, I kind of wanted to feel with the people and start getting to know the regulars. And it was amazing that people who even bought very nice vehicles, they had purchased them. They said, do you know how humiliating it is to come here and to go ahead? They said, I could sell my car for a less car, but it's not going to be as dependable. I need this car, and I don't want to just sell it. But I'm at the point where I've sold a lot of stuff, and I'm now losing my house. One individual was an actual banker, and he and his wife had to sell their property, and they moved down to a small rental in Riverside. And he said he went from a 6-figure income all the way down to nothing, gone, dried up. He said, I was doing perfectly fine. And then I applied for some of the CARES Act, the PPP loans, and et cetera. And he said, now that we're in third and fourth phase, he says, I've dried up all now I'm tapping into my retirement funds. Well, he has that luxury. But what we're seeing is a lot of people in the community don't have that luxury. So I know that's a little bit long-winded, but that kind of gives you an idea. It gives you a thermometer of what we're dealing with. Now, the majority of the homeless that you see out and about, they are not going to fall into that category. They're going to fall into a lot of the mental health issues where you've heard debates talk about, hey, what are we doing with the mental health crises that are happening across the country? There's no place to put them. And we're seeing more and more people. Now, people don't want to believe this, but this is a true statement. If you become addicted to a narcotic, that is a mental health issue. It affects the brain. It affects the brain's ability to be able to make rational decisions. It affects the person's behavior. It affects every aspect of them, and they become dependent upon it. So we do see addictions. We do see people that have mental health crises. We do see people that might end up not being able to make just basic decisions that are out in our green spaces in our parkways. I am sending all the camps that I have to our crisis intervention unit. They go out and do periodical checks on it. I go and do periodical checks. The Northland Parks Anti-Crime Team and the Shoal Creek Impact Team, just like Officer Lent said, we go out and check those things. Now, that's what I have for a report for you guys.
Very good information, Officer Keeney. Appreciate it very, very much. And you are not long-winded. Any other thoughts or concerns for the police officers? Okay, hearing none, let's move ahead to the next item on our agenda, the Kcmo Comprehensive Plan Update. Is that Morgan? Yep.
Hi, everybody. Morgan Pemberton here from the Long Range Planning Division. I'm going to give you a quick update on the update to Kansas City's comprehensive plan. We're still undergoing that process and will be for the next year or two. If you could let me share my screen, I'll put a presentation up for you.
You like to help Morgan with that? Okay, great.
Got it. Okay. So the last time that I spoke to you all about the Kansas City Spirit Playbook, we were just launching our online public engagement and getting into that initial phase of getting feedback from the public on what they want to see in their new comprehensive plan. We are still very much in that listening and preliminary analysis phase, but we are getting much closer to a second stage of that, which will be getting more into topic-specific discussions. We're anticipating having some more town halls, whether virtually or in person at this point is very much in the air. We also are anticipating having some work groups next year, bringing in, subject experts in the various topics that we'll be covering in the comprehensive plan and all that kind of thing. So we'll be getting more into those conversations next year, and we're doing the planning to get ready for that right now. And we're also working with the other city departments and regional agencies that work on these other city plans that we have. We just want to make sure that any recommendations that we make in the comprehensive plan is aligned with these other plans that the city has, because these plans were really put together by the experts in those areas, and we want to make sure that we're utilizing that, as well as any plans that are currently being updated, like the climate protection plan. We're working with them to share resources and contacts, and also make sure that their recommendations will be supported by the comprehensive plan. We also have all of our area plans. It's another part of the comprehensive plan update process that we're going to be doing, is just taking a look at our area plans. We've done them the same way for a long time now, and we just want to make sure that we're still doing that in the most effective way possible, that people are aware of their area plans, they know how to use them. These do have more specific recommendations for smaller areas than the comprehensive plan does. So these area plans are also really important to making sure that the city looks like what its citizens want it to look like. And then just a reminder of how the plan is going to come together is that we have a list of topics there on the left-hand side. That's just a draft list of what we anticipate will likely be very important and some of the issues that we're going to be covering in the comprehensive plan, but that topic list is likely to change just depending on the feedback we're getting, and it will be updated over time. We also have our value systems, or our lenses that you can think of them as, that we need to view the topics through. So for example, if we're going to be talking about housing policy in Kansas City, we need to make sure that any discussion around housing policy is also seen through the lens of equity, keeping communities intact, mutual benefit, that type of thing. So that gives us an equitable and even-keeled plan that helps everybody in the city by using those lenses. And then we've got an image of the website here. If you haven't been there, please visit, please register. We've got 26 weeks worth now, I believe, of polls and activities for you to give your feedback in how we lay the base for what the comprehensive plan is going to be built upon. And of course, all of our polls and activities, everything is going to be left open throughout the duration of this update so that people can participate whenever they are able to join. So, and then just to give you the quick update on what we have been doing so far, we launched our online public engagement platform in mid-May, which is that website I just showed you, playbook.kcmo.gov. We've got over 1,000 people registered with the site, and over half of those people are actively participating in the polls and activities. Of course, we want to get those numbers up, way up. We've, like I said, got 26 weeks worth of stuff for people to do. We've also held a virtual town hall, and about 60 to 70 people were in attendance. We had some Zoom bombing issues, but we're learning from those mistakes and making some corrections in the future so that things like that are less likely to happen. And let's see, we also held an Ask a Planner hour on Twitter. We've done ads on Facebook, on Google, and all of these ads, you know, they do cost money, and our budget is very tight. So we've been experimenting with different avenues of trying to reach out to people. These ads were one way that we used. We got some good reception of the ads, and it did drive people to the website, but you know, we have to look at costs and see if that really is something that you know, we can keep doing, or if our resources are better focused somewhere else. We also did an Instagram and Facebook story with the Tip Tuesday that you may see with the Kansas City's Facebook and Instagram page. It was an initial story just focused on demographic info from the data book, but we're also planning on doing additional series of that focused on different topics and issues that are related to the comprehensive plan. We also have done thousands of emails. We did a ton right when we launched the website, and then we did a lot more in September after we took the time and we were searching for more neighborhood groups, more organizations, just trying to think of everything that we could think of as far as the groups that we can be reaching out to. And we're still working through that. I mean, it is a massive list, and we're continually reaching out to more and more people. We've also done video clips for the weekly report and to have on channel 2. And we've also started reaching out to some local celebrities, some local sports figures, seeing if someone would be able to help us out with a video or something like that. We also have done over 60 of these types of presentations on the comprehensive plan, and we are estimating over 1,000 people have been in attendance in those meetings. Mostly they are, you know, for neighborhood organizations, economic development chambers, and we've done a lot of the Kansas City boards and commissions as well. This November, everybody who receives a paper water bill in Kansas City will be receiving an advert about the comprehensive plan as well in that bill, so keep an eye out for that. And then we've also had staff dispersing posters and flyers around the city. We're planning on to continue that effort as we go through this process. We've done some billboards around town. We're going to have some bus ads coming soon, both on the interior and the exterior of some local bus routes. Our director has done a few interviews, and we're planning some more there. We're also planning on doing some walking tours in the spring to get people active and involved with the comprehensive plan to be kind of educational and historical, and we're planning on doing a series of those around the city. So we're excited about those. And then lastly, very soon we're going to have our public engagement contract awarded, and we will have a contractor coming on board to help us evaluate all of these things that I've been talking about, all of the strategies that we've tried, and figuring out what we can do to improve those strategies going forward. So I always got to make my plug, please sign up with the website. Please tell all your friends and families and all your Northlanders to get involved and make sure that they have a voice in the next 20 years in Kansas City. We do have some zip code data from the website about who's participating the most. I do have to say right now it is the core of the city that is participating the most, but that is pretty typical when you've got a project like this that the city's working on. We tend to get a lot of input from that part of the city, but right now we're really focused on figuring out how we can reach out more to the Northland, more to the far south end of Kansas City, as well as the northeast neighborhoods from downtown. Those are the areas that we are struggling the most to get registered with the website. So that's a hurdle that we're going to have to address here. And then just for everybody's information, we've got the website, we've got our email address, playbook@kcmo.org. If you have any questions or concerns, and then you can also just contact me directly if you prefer. And I'm happy to answer any questions that anyone might have.
Thanks for the presentation, Morgan. I'm not seeing any questions coming in the chat so far, but I think maybe someone just unmuted. Okay, David, go right ahead.
That would be me. Yeah, Morgan, is there a reason that most of the input's coming from south of the river because we don't spread the word enough here, or how do we go about getting that information spread out so we get more input from the Northland?
Sure. I mean, that is a very hard question to answer these days. Honestly, with the stay-at-home orders, with everyone either living completely virtually or for those who are unable to do that, not being virtual, our ability to reach out to people, I think, has just been hindered a bit this year more than it typically is. So I don't think it's anyone's fault, or one group of the city's not getting the word out enough than another one. Honestly, it's just things are tough right now. But things that you can help us do, we have a digital poster on our website, which I can also provide to Ed and NNI to disperse. We've got that if you wanted to email it to your HOA or any other organizations that you're involved in. That's a pretty easy thing to do. Talking to your friends and family, your coworkers, letting them know that this is going on. And I swear it is actually fun to participate. But doing the polls and activities, you get to think about your city and what you want, and it is an enjoyable activity, I promise. And then as far as other avenues to pursue, if you have any other groups that you'd like us to come talk to or present to, we're always happy to do that. And other than that, we're going to keep trying to improve our strategies and come up with some new ones. So if anyone has any ideas as well, we're definitely open to them.
Not to be negative, but I'm just going to say what I hear from people and what I've sensed myself. But I think that there is a couple of issues in the Northland, and one is that we have very poor representation on Plan Commission and on BZA. That's not saying that the people that are there are poor, but that even though we're 51% of the land mass, we are very lucky to have 1 or 2 members on there. Also, we've had an experience that when we've gone down about projects to testify before either of these groups, it seems at that time the plans don't really matter. Decisions are made that go right in the face of those plans. On the Wynwood, Tammy Henderson was co-chair of the original North Oak plan, and I think was involved in the Wynwood Briarcliff plan. It really leaves people with a feeling that it doesn't matter whether you participate or not, that the Northland's not in the deal. not in the, I don't know if anyone, and I'm not, Megan, that certainly isn't on you. But I think if you want to know why people aren't more engaged with it, I think that a lot of people feel like it's been a waste of their time when they participated in the past. Anyone else want to comment to that? I saw Tammy.
Yeah, that's exactly
Yeah, I'm
what I
shaking
was
my head a
gonna
little bit. I think that it's frustrating because Deb referred to that North Oak plan. I'll bet you that was 20 years ago, 15 years ago, and we haven't seen hardly anything change on North Oak. And we still have open zoning on North Oak. We can't seem to get better looking stuff and better looking design features and all that kind of thing. So it is a little frustrating. And then I've seen people, the old focus plan, I've seen two opposite sides hold the same document in their hands arguing against each other. And so I think that some of that is maybe a little bit of a deterrent as well.
Mm-hmm. I think, David, you were going to say something?
No, Deb said it better than I did. I just think we don't have the impact at City Hall that we should have. And it boils down to that. And I think the Northland, you get like that Gould Evans report and they take that as gospel and we don't even get a chance to argue it before the council. They won't come up and see it. And by God, you know, maybe suburban sprawl is bad, but sure working in Olathe and Overland Park and Lee Summit and Blue Springs and the Northland's your suburb and we're just letting it go. And if without the Northland, you're St. Louis and we're just stepchild. And if you think that's wrong, you might have 12 other people on this call who agree with me. And we need to get that fixed. I'm not here to be argumentative, but I'm here to get a solution.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, I honestly can't speak to the successes of focus and plans that were done a while ago. I'm still pretty new to the city, so I don't know the history of everything myself. But I do know that there's that that kind of tension between the Northland and Southland. But as someone that works in City Hall, I can tell you that your council members strongly represent the Northland, and you've got planners who are assigned to the Northland to advocate for you. We're doing our very best, but of course not everything's perfect. But I would also say that, you know, I understand the frustrations and the why should I, you know, spend so much time on something that I don't think is going to be implemented in the future. And to that, I just my public service brain is just, you know, it's always, you got to keep trying. And I know that is so frustrating. And people on this call have been in this area for decades and working on these projects for decades. But I can tell you that we are trying to create a different type of plan than what Focus was. Focus was a very long and detailed and very, very long document that had a lot going on in it. But we're trying to create something that is more streamlined, that is simpler to use, that is simpler to navigate and understand. We have all these other city plans that have been implemented since Focus was adopted, and that is going to take a lot of the heavy lifting away from our team having to put together recommendations and sections on topics that we may not be subject matter experts on. So we have a lot more help within the city and outside the city as far as making sure that these issues are really timely, that they are addressing the issues that are going on today and right now. So it's not going to be Focus over again. I can tell you that. It will carry a lot of the same threads, but it's just not going to be the same. And I kind of keep looking towards the future in a positive way that this is going to be a great document for the city and to lead us into the future.
Morgan, I want to give you some facts and two opinions. And this is from John DeBush. I was trying to find this yesterday during our meeting. Single family permits in the first district of 427, in the second district was 224. City overall was 743, so less than 100 in the other four council districts. And And then if we look at total number of permits, 1,490 in the first, 900 in the second, total for the entire city is 2826. So about 500 permits in the other 4 council districts. We're doing things right up here. And okay, now here's the opinion. We've got great schools that people want to come to, and we've got the law enforcement has the when something happens in Clay or Platte County, the prosecutor is going to take care of it, and it goes a long way. And then if anybody doubts that, you know, I'll agree to disagree. But we got things going on up here, and we're still just ignored, and it needs a fix because again, without us, Kansas City, St. Louis.
And
I hear you, David.
I don't want my comments misunderstood. I was not talking about our council people when I talked about poor representation. I was referring to the Plan Commission and BZA, which generally, and I think it's probably still true, we are lucky to have 1 or 2 people on there. Most of the people on the Plan Commission, when you're talking, or on the BZA, they couldn't tell you where the street's at if it's a Northland project. And we end up, even though it's against plans, against the approved plans, we end up with a gas station, a new used car lot being allowed next to a house, next to a residential lot that's occupied. Even that's not on you, but I wasn't, our council people do, and I think these things, many of the decisions the last few years have been moved away from the council and to the Plan Commission and mostly to the BZA. I think they need to be moved back to the council members. At least we vote for them and we have some opportunity to have impact.
I will tell you, having served on the Plan Commission, I was not reappointed, but a lot of the decisions the Plan Commission made, we're already made at the council, kind of already made at not necessarily the council level, but it didn't feel like we had as much say as the council did, which I'm fine with that. But BZA, I think they're a little different, and you know, I can't speak for them, but I would say that I would agree with Deb's comments and the fact that, you know, there's an entirely new Plan Commission right now. There's 1 person that was carried over. That's it, and you know, that's hard. That's very hard. That's a huge commitment of time to serve on the Plan Commission, and Deb's done it and others, and it's very difficult when you don't have representation from all over, especially the Northland where most of the growth is happening.
I can tell you that while the makeup of the BZA and the Plan Commission, it changes and it fluctuates, and the representation of the actual members may not be as equally distributed as we'd like it to be, but you do have me and John and the other planners who are advocating for the plans that we, you know, created and that we want to implement. That is our focus, and that is what's most important to us, is making sure that the plans that you all have worked so hard on are actually implemented. I can tell you that this comprehensive plan, it's only going to be as successful as the buy-in and the participation that we get from the public. And I know there's concerns about its actual effectiveness at the end of the road, but you know, we're just not there yet. And I think that we have to really encourage people to participate and to keep an open mind and put this plan together and then, you know, move forward with it. I have high hopes for it. I'm just an eternal optimist, I guess.
Again, Morgan, I appreciate you being here, and these comments aren't directed at you. But you're going to find out, if you haven't already, that if you ask Northlanders what we think, we're going to probably tell you.
That's fine.
Okay, any other thoughts for Morgan? Morgan, thank you very, very much. You always, as always, do a very good presentation to us, and it's very concise, and I appreciate that very, very much. And I know all of us do. So I'm with you. I'm trying to be optimistic about what we're doing, and it is very frustrating listening to comments, and I've been there myself. So we'll just all have to pull together and just try it one more time to get this thing going and get those people down there to recognize us and give us some voice.
Mm-hmm. And we're trying to make it online, as much as possible. Right now we have to, but we're trying to make sure that we're providing a lot of different options for people to participate. So if they don't want to jump on board for the entire next year and a half that we're going to be working on this, then that's okay. We're trying to give people multiple opportunities to jump in and give some feedback. So if anyone has any suggestions, ideas, thoughts, concerns, please feel free to email me. I'm always available.
Great. Thank you, Morgan.
Thanks, guys.
Anything else? Next subject is other business. Does anybody have anything they'd like to bring up at this time, or?
I would probably, just so everyone is aware, NNI has gone back to most people working at home. We're not going out to any job sites or people's homes for the time being. In fact, while we were in this meeting, I got another email. We've got another client with COVID. So if you need anything, call, email, and we're going to keep things going the best we can. But this is a really, really scary time. We are moving. You can look for us to be in our new space by January 4th. Our plan is to reopen after the new year in the new space. And I hope it is truly a new year. Maybe we'll start to see some of this in our rear view mirror, because it's getting tough. It's really tough on the staff. But thank you for participating.
Okay,
Deb,
anybody else?
Yeah, Tim or Deb, this is Claudia. I didn't know you were moving. Where are you going?
Antioch Crossings. If you remember where Burlington Coat Factory used to be, around behind and on the first floor or the lower floor,
Okay.
right across from the apartments.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Not too far away. Much improved space, though.
Mm-hmm.
A lot better parking.
I'd like to
A
mention
lot
that
better parking.
the Northland Education Business Alliance is having a career fair next Wednesday from 8 until 2 o'clock, and it's going to be 24 different lines of business. It's open to anybody from 6th grade through high school, and the information is at www.northlandschools.com. And the Governor Parson likes what we're doing enough that he's going to give the introduction, so we're hoping it's a big deal. And we've spread that out throughout the whole metro, because why just educate the Northland kids? Let's let all the kids have dreams. So hopefully you can spread the word. Thank you.
That was www.northlandschools.com.
Yes. And NEBA is
I'm going to go ahead and
Education
share.
Business Alliance. And I didn't even hear about it until I started this job, but you're going to hear a lot about it from me from the rest of my career.
Awesome. I'm going to go ahead and share that on the next door. That's good news.
Thank you.
If we have just a moment at the end, I'd just like to ask Tammy, how are things going at the school district?
Well, it's been an interesting week. What day is this? Thursday. We are we're not seeing spread in our schools, but we're reflective of the community. So we've got schools that we're watching closely, but we have protocols in place that are really minimizing the number of students and staff that are being exposed and that kind of thing. I don't know if you all know, but this morning the governor came out with new guidance for school districts that says if you have been wearing your mask and you're exposed to somebody who is COVID positive, you no longer need to quarantine. I know that Mayor Lucas is responding or reacting to that, as is Rex Archer. I'm sure I haven't personally seen what Gary Zaborak with Clay County is saying, but I would imagine he is not reacting well to that. So North Kansas City is not changing our protocols at this time. We have our own contact tracers. If we have students or staff that have been exposed, we do contact tracing. We do quarantine those folks. And we have had, really for a district our size, we've had relatively few positive cases. And the cases we have not been through spread at the school. It's been through a parent offering a 5th grade class party and the kids weren't wearing masks, or staff that maybe went out and went to a big party. And Halloween was one where, you know, people went out and went to parties, and lo and behold, someone would come down with COVID. So that seems to dominate our time right now. We're just trying to keep kids in school and to get kids to be able to come back to school full time. We're very concerned about the learning and the experiences, especially our high school kids are having. They're virtual now 3 days a week and in person 2 days a week. And we really need to get those kids back in school. So that's kind of where we are.
Thanks for all you do. I know it's got to be real stressful for you and the staff. As always, the police department, the schools are right in the front of all of us.
Yep. And you know what it's like, especially I'm sure the officers can, we will have people show up to school board meetings and we get constant emails, and you'll have somebody who is absolutely incensed that we're even in school. And then the next call will be somebody who's absolutely incensed that we aren't having school. So I mean, you know, they all kind of cancel out each other. So it's been interesting, but we're doing fine. Thank you for asking.
Okay, thank you, Tammy. Appreciate it very much. And I know it's a tough job there. So, is there any other business anyone would like to bring up? Okay, well, I've got one thing. I like to kind of end the meeting on a good note, I hope. The name of our group is Focus North Oak, and 2 months ago I had a meeting with the Parks Department, actual meeting at Waterworks Park, and with Kevin Evans, Richard Allen. There's about 5 other people from Parks Department there, and just this week we made some improvements. If you get a chance to drive down North Oak, south of the vehicle entrance off of North Oak, I'd asked them to clear out a lot of that brush there, and that was done this week. And then we're going to hopefully have a volunteer day, hopefully in November, December, and to have volunteers come in and clear out all the underbrush on that hill and make kind of our pathway into the park, which we had done a couple years ago. It just got overgrown. So we're looking to do that, and got some money coming up to us through PIAC, and it's going to be exciting. There's a good plan for it. I gave them my vision of what I want the park to look like, and Kevin Evans, as you know, everybody knows him, and Richard Allen are real good about you know, listening to us and what we want and that kind of thing. So hopefully see some improvements along North Oak and visual improvements on that side of the street where Waterworks Park is. So hopefully that'll happen here in the next month or so. So all right, anything else anybody would like to add? Hearing none, well, thank you all for joining, and we will see you next month. Thanks again, everybody. Thanks, Eli.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Yes.